أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My elders, brothers and sisters in Iman, my young friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you for joining the celebration of the Khoja Heritage Day. I hope that you will benefit from the displays and other contents specially created to celebrate the very first annual Khoja Heritage Day by the World Federation. When we talk about heritage, a question that can be answered is, who are you? And you might start to answer that question with your name, but of course you're much more than a name. What are your values? Where did your ancestors come from? Why do you follow the faith traditions that you follow? All these things and many others come together to make up who you are. And today, we have a wonderful opportunity to reflect a little deeper as to an important factor about our identity as a people by looking at our heritage. What then is heritage? The word can be a difficult one to define. Heritage is always something that's passed down by families or communities over decades and even generations. In the posters that we have created for you, you will see that our history dates back to almost 1,000 years. In Lohargat, near the Khyber Pass, present-day Afghanistan-Pakistan border, where our Luhana ancestors came from. In addition to the tangible objects like your heirloom jewelry or a special piece of furniture or a special copy of the Holy Quran, which have been handed down for generations, heritage also means customs, traditions, values shared by a community. For thousands of years, societies have endeavored to preserve their history, and they have used various methods to do so. For instance, Egyptians documented their history through complex architecture, the pyramids, which are built to last for centuries. Manuscripts were copied in great detail by Jewish scribes to document their trials and tribulations. These are just a few examples of how societies have understood the importance of documenting heritage. One of the reasons why generations of people document their history is because they want to ensure that the stories told are accurately preserved. In our case, a good example is our conversion from the Ismailis. This is the standard narrative that we went from Satpanth to Ismailis and then to the Ithnachri faith. Well, I submit to you that research will tell us that this was not necessarily linear as has been described, but in fact it was simultaneous. It was the British court rulings that changed this narration of our history. This is not my subject today, but certainly we can delve deeper into it another occasion. But the point is that we want to make sure that the knowledge of our culture and our history is understood and correctly recorded for the generations to come. There are a lot of experiences and an abundance of wisdom that can be lost as time passes if it's not recorded correctly. And when that information is documented, then we have access to historical information that can be of significant value in the present time. You know, when you consider the kind of information that's been documented for centuries, you can see the value across many different topics. For instance, comprehensive information in the areas of law, psychology, economics, geography, linguistics, sociology, medicine, and particularly religion, and so much more, has so much to offer to us. By having a historical perspective of these subjects, we can significantly enhance our own understanding of life. When it comes to seeking and obtaining information about your own heritage, it is just as important. It gives you a chance to understand traditions that are specific to your ancestors. You can gain a historical perspective of your family and your culture, including details about your own heritage, which is unique. Let me share a statistic with you. We, as the Khoja Shia Ethnasis, are just 150,000, perhaps less, of the 200 million Shias around the world. In that 150 years of our conversion, we have built nearly 300 religious buildings, mosques, imam bargas, and so on and so forth, which means we have built 2 buildings a year in our existence as Khoja Shia Ethnasis. You will see some of those in the video that we've created called Khoja Spaces for you. So, learning about your history and your heritage can help you understand how you became who you are. In fact, having a historical perspective of your heritage can serve as a guidepost, and it often provides information about what one can expect in the future. This certainly does not mean that people don't have the free will to do what they need to do according to the circumstances. But while you can make those correct decisions to guide the outcome of your future, you cannot assume that your heritage will not play a role in what happens to you and others as you evolve. Indeed, I have said this before and I say it again, that when we are looking at our evolution as a community, we need to meet the challenges of the day not with an unquestioning observance to convention, nor with the fascination of the novel, but with a spirit of revitalizing the pristine Islamic values and traditions. We must seek to enhance our institutions, our jamaats, our societies through concepts that derive their nourishment from the spirit of Islam, which are at the same time fitting to the needs of time. So there is a connection between the past and the future. The combination of decisions that you make on a daily basis and events that have occurred in the past will have an effect on what happens in the future. To a large degree, many of the decisions we make today are actually based on the knowledge of what has happened in the past. So heritage is comprised of many factors from which you cannot separate yourself, such as genetics, events, and evolution. And by understanding the events of the past, it can give you the backdrop that you need to better understand yourself and where you came from. Interestingly, people often spend time in their young adulthood trying to understand who they are. My own personal journey of 30 or 40 years is exactly that, to try and understand who I am through our heritage. And knowing about your heritage is in fact a great way to find yourself. You can learn, you can help yourself embrace the positive characteristics and improve upon others. This is what heritage can do for you. Also, it is so important to see your heritage as an inheritance that has great value. Would you not value a family heirloom of the Holy Quran with a great value? The same thing applies to our heritage. In fact, it is unfortunate to have a rich heritage and not know about it, especially since it's a part of who you are. And lastly, your heritage is not something that you should know and understand, but it is also something that should be shared with your grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Knowing your heritage can contribute to the building of character and enhance one's community and family life. Exploring your own heritage can be fun. It can help you learn about yourself, your family, your ancestors. But it's also important to learn about the heritage of others. Doing so can help us build a stronger understanding of other cultures. And this is the reason why each culture must celebrate its heritage, just as we Khojas do through various means. And the Khoja Heritage Day today is a manifestation of that earnest desire to ensure that other cultures also understand the Khoja culture better, as we would like to understand other cultures. It can also lead you to find things you may have common in others. And this is something that comes back to our Gujarati culture, for example. The organized manner in which we operate ourselves dates back to almost 2000 years within the Gujarat society called the Gujarat Sampradaya, where each community, each vocation, each profession was neatly put into various boxes so that society could organize itself. This is also our Gujarati heritage. Above all, preserving our cultural heritage engenders a positive feeling of communal support. It is said, and research says this, that those who identify strongly with a certain heritage are often more likely to help each other within the same community. Well, the unique and the widely acknowledged distinction of the Khoja Shia ethnic community has been that very trait of helping each other during times of trials and tribulations on our journey from the ports of Pondbarn and Manvi. And I urge you to watch again a documentary that we produced a few years ago called The Journey of Faith in order to understand the resilience, the philanthropy, and the spirit of helping each other. The film documents our 750 years of our history. What you will see today is a 15-minute glimpse of excerpts from that documentary to get a sampling of who we are as a Khoja Shia ethnic community. I say this, that the testimony of that bonding lies in the creation of an enviable network of Jamaats, regional federations, and the World Federation which bind us together. And I hope that the Khoja Heritage Day will engender an even greater sense of belonging and help retain the valuable social capital that our forefathers have built up through a lot of sacrifices over several generations. To end, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the Khoja Shia ethnic community worldwide is today viewed as practicing Muslims and known as a religious society. This is because we owe it to the pioneering spirit of many men and women who went out to search in search of the truth and alhamdulillah found it. The Khoja Shia ethnic community owes a perpetual debt of gratitude to many an humble individual, some of whom, like Haji Naji Sahib, Mullah Qadar Hussain Karbalai, amongst others, Devji Jamal, that you'll observe in the posters that are created here. Each one has a story to tell. Each tile will tell you a brief story of who these individuals were. So as I end, I ask you to recite a Surah Fatiha for all of them. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.